Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about these two conference finals series, and yesterday one of them just got a lot more interesting. So I'm going to start with Nuggets-Lakers. In Game 1, we saw Anthony Davis just absolutely bully whoever they had on him. Paul Millsap got pushed around really, really badly. That was the primary matchup I remember him exploiting. When Jokic was on him, Jokic did a bit better, I thought. But really, they just need to find an adjustment that allows them to match up better with Anthony Davis because Paul Millsap was just not getting it done. One suggestion I have is going to a two-big lineup more often. I get that Plumlee plugs up the spacing, and he's not a very aggressive guy on offense, but he's just probably their best option on Anthony Davis when Jokic is not on him. And when Dwight Howard playing as many minutes as he did last game, it looks like Frank Vogel is going to stick with these two big man lineups for at least a bit. Obviously, JaVale McGee didn't do much. He was minus 11 in 11 minutes. But Howard played well. He provided a lot of really good energy for the Lakers, and I think that Plumlee can be an important player in this series just because of his physicality and ability as a defender. So I think a two-big lineup could be an adjustment we see from Michael Malone for the Nuggets. And really, I think we just saw, in terms of adjustments, Frank Vogel flat out outcoached Michael Malone. We saw as soon as Mason Plumlee went in, boom, Markieff Morris was at the scorer's table to check in to play the 5. That's when Anthony Davis took his break, was during the Mason Plumlee minutes, and we saw Plumlee just struggle guarding Morris because of Morris's smaller size. He just ate him up in that matchup. So great adjustment there by Frank Vogel. And then once he checked out, Mason Plumlee, that is, I believe Jokic replaced him, then one of the big guys, I forget whether it was Howard or Davis, checked back into the game, and Morris shifted down to the 4. So really just excellent rotational work for Frank Vogel. I was very, very impressed with him. The Lakers really used their size to their advantage by piling up the transition and second chance points. The Nuggets didn't look great. I picked them to win in 7 games, and I think that might have been a bit of recency bias getting to me. Just seeing how spirited they looked against the Clippers. They looked pretty frustrated at times during this Lakers game, but I still have faith in this team to make this a really, really interesting series, and I do still think that they have a chance to win. Jeremy Grant played some beautiful defense on LeBron, watching him fight through screens and move his feet. I think that he did a great job as that primary defender on LeBron. I think that Torrey Craig played very well, especially on the offensive end of the floor. He got them some big buckets. Jokic gets a lot of credit for being a great passer, but Torrey Craig is also a really, really great cutter, and that just works in really, really well with Jokic because Jokic is the best passer in the NBA, and Torrey Craig is one of the best cutters in the NBA, so their play styles just really feed off of each other well, and I was very impressed with that skill from Torrey Craig. The Lakers switches, giving Joker mismatches. We didn't see as much of that as we could have wanted because of those foul trouble for Jokic and Murray. And that's really something that the Nuggets are going to have to figure out and limit because when those two are not on the court, they just didn't have as much offensive firepower. They were able to actually play to a pretty standstill, play the Lakers to pretty much a standstill during that portion of the second quarter where neither of those guys were in the game because they were in foul trouble. But I would not bank on that. If I were the Nuggets, I would not expect that trend to continue. So staying out of foul trouble is a key, and limiting the turnovers is another key for the Nuggets. They just can't be playing so carelessly with the ball, as we saw them have 16 turnovers. But I think they had like 6 in a row in the second quarter when the Lakers made their big run. So those are a few of my keys from this series. Nuggets limiting their turnovers, not fouling as much, keeping their guys on the floor. I also think Michael Malone probably should have given Jokic and Murray a bit of a longer leash and trusted his guys to play a bit more when they were in foul trouble, especially Murray, considering he's a guard, and guards just really aren't in position to foul all that much. So I'd also look for him to not foul out his own players by taking them out of the game when they're in foul trouble and refusing to play them for such a long time. I mean, Jokic only played 25 minutes. I'm pretty sure you can't be having that. This team needs Jokic on the floor for many more minutes than that. So just trusting his guys, that's a hard decision to make as a coach. You have to kind of figure out what your preference is. But yeah, that's about all I have to say on that series. Jamal Murray was actually really, really good, I thought, on offense. Although the turnovers, he had a few, but his scoring was magnificent, as we've seen for the entirety of this playoff run for the Nuggets. So I think this is going to be a great series, and I'm looking for the Nuggets to make some key adjustments. Over to the Celtics Heat series. Yesterday, I loved what I saw from the big four for this team in the Celtics, and Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart. All four of those guys had 20-plus points. They were all providing consistent scoring. Marcus Smart shot 10 free throws. I loved how aggressive Jaylen Brown was getting to the rack and cutting. Gordon Hayward played really well. He played 31 minutes in his return from injury. Obviously, he didn't make a big impact. I think he only had like 3 points and 3 assists and 4 rebounds or something like that. But he played good minutes for them, and he allows them to play the lineup they'd like to play most, I think, which is that 1 to 5 almost guard lineup. And I guess Hayward is probably considered a forward, but the other four in Kemba, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart, you could make a debate that they are all guards. So just that super small lineup with no big guy is very entertaining, and I'm excited to see how much Brad Stevens goes to that. On the Heat end, Tyler Hero kept this team in the game in that second quarter. Obviously, he didn't have a great game other than that second quarter, but in that second quarter, he was just on fire. I think he had like 16 points in the quarter, and it was just incredible, the shots he was knocking down and how aggressive he was taking those shots. He figured out that he was hot, and he said, no one else on this team is hitting shots, so how about I just shoot every time down the court? And it didn't matter if he had a hand in his face. It didn't matter if he was off balance. He was putting the ball up there, and it was going in. This guy has so much poise. He's such a good rookie. Looking back at it, I think people are going to say, the Knicks should have drafted this guy 3rd overall, because it really looks like he could end up being the 3rd best player in this draft class, obviously behind Ja and Zion. I'm just so impressed with him. He's one of my favorite young players in the NBA. His ability as a shooter, from what I've heard, it sounds like he's has a great work ethic. He's a workaholic, and Jimmy Butler's going to keep pushing him to get better, and I think that he has a very, very bright future in the NBA. It was interesting to see the Celtics attack Duncan Robinson so much on defense. The Heat had to go to the zone, and even after that, the Celtics were able to figure out with some great ball movement and great shooting. But Duncan Robinson, when they're in man, is just hopeless. They can't find anywhere to hide him. I think that's a big part of why Marcus Smart has been having such a big series, because that's frequently where Brad Stevens Eric Spoelstra has been trying to hide Duncan Robinson, and Duncan's defense has just got to get better for him to reach his climax as a 3-and-D player, because as of right now, he's got the 3 on lock, but his defense needs to get far better. I also think that Jimmy Butler needs to be more aggressive scoring the ball. It seems like he's almost unselfish to a fault at this point. So that's another interesting thing to watch in this series. They needed him to hit more shots in the first half to keep them in the game, and it just didn't seem like it was happening for him. The only shots I really remember him making in the first half were those miss and then push everybody around, because he's so strong and has such determination to get every rebound, and he gets the offensive rebound and putback. He did that a couple times. But I'd look for him to be more aggressive scoring the ball. And finally, Jay Crowder finally cooled off. He shot 2 for 10 yesterday. from the 3-point line. Where was that in the Bucks series is what I'd like to know, because if he doesn't go absolute crazy mode, I think the Bucks would have had a much better shot in that series. But salty Bucks fan here, that's neither here nor there. Marcus Smart also did a terrific job on Goran Dragic. Goran Dragic had one of the worst individual performances in the entire playoffs. He was minus 29 and shot 2 for 10 from the field. That's 2 Heat players that shot 2 for 10 in Goran Dragic. So great defense by the Celtics. I thought that the Heat needed to get off to a fast start in this series because the Celtics are a younger team and they're not going to make in-game adjustments as well as they are going to make out-of-game adjustments. And Brad Stevens is a great coach, so he's going to coach them up and give them those out-of-game adjustments that they need to make. So the Heat got off to the fast start that they needed, but in Game 4, they're going to need to fight back. And I think yesterday the Celtics played about as well as they possibly can, and they're going to have to bring that exact same energy to Game 4 in order to continue to rattle off wins against this Heat team. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to be matching up in the NBA Finals this year. Based off what we've seen from these two conference finals matchups so far, I think most people likely think that it will be the Lakers and Heat matching up in the finals, but the Celtics and Nuggets are far from out of it, and I think that both of these teams are going to fight back and make these 2 really great conference finals series. So thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. That's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all again very soon.